Hey friends, for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be focusing on scrap yarn. So you're like, what is scrap yarn? Scrap yarn is leftover yarn from projects that I may have started or that I've gotten in kits or I found bundled up in the bottom of a basket in the thrift store. Wow, can I say that 3 times? And I like to use scrap yarn. Some people get rid of it, they throw it away. But I like to make a lot of projects with scrap yarn. So as I said, going forward the next few weeks, I'm going to be focusing on scrap yarn. So today I'm going to show you the scrap yarn that I have, talk about how I wind it, and then also show you how I connect it. And then in the next couple of episodes, I'll start creating some items from the scrap yarn. So, stay tuned. As you can see from the varied yarn I have here, they're different size scraps. Now, to some, they would probably say this is not scraps, but they are if they're left over from a larger skein of yarn. These were given to me by someone in a huge box of yarn donated to me. These are definitely left over from some projects. From this pile right here, I could probably make about 3 hats. Now, it depends on what type of project I'm going to make. For a smaller project like a hat, I would probably use little bits of yarn like this because I don't want my spaces to be, my lines to be really wide. But for bigger projects like sweaters or scarves, I would probably use these right here because a panel for a sweater is bigger. And this may just be about 1.5 rows, depending on how large the sweater is once I get started. So when tying scrap yarn, I don't get really particular about it because the fun thing about scrap yarn is that once it's put together, the item that the person gets, they have the choice of wearing it inside out where there are lines or string hanging out, or they can turn it right side in where it just looks like the regular item. The project that I'm going to be making in the next couple of weeks over the next few episodes will be, I'm going to use this yarn right here, the different colors. I might throw in some other colors to just kind of offset because I have like the neutrals and I have double reds and some double purple. So I might throw in some white or some black to kind of break up the colors. So I showed you earlier how I tie my yarn to connect it. I just knot it and then I knot it twice. Now I'm going to show you, I have two ways in which I roll it. If it's a lot of yarn, I actually roll it by hand, but later on I'm going to show you the yarn winder, just in case anyone is interested in that. But normally I just start, I'm using a little bit of yarn today, just this is so not to bore you, but everyone knows how to make a, a ball, hopefully. Everyone does it different. I already have some yarn that I tied together. Yeah, I'm going kind of fast. Slow it down. And I don't put any particular colors together. I try not to put the same colors back to back, of course, because that creates the distinctive pattern for whatever scrap project you're creating. And you just want to make sure you have as much space as you can, so it doesn't get tangled. And again, for this project, I just use a small amount just so that you would have an idea of how to work your scrap yarn. Okay, so this is just a small sample of a yarn ball. I've been busy over here working behind the scenes, getting this yarn together to give you a demonstration, and it is hot. This YouTube hustle is serious, right? So I want to show you what I'm going to be doing to wind the yarn. Some people do it by hand. I do mostly by hand, but I also do a lot with a yarn baller. This gadget was literally like $8 on Amazon. So I'll link my Amazon link in the comments, and then you can go if you're interested in purchasing it. Some are bigger. Some people use these umbrella things. I don't know what they're called, some winder, and they put their yarn on it, and then they, put it through here and they wind it. And it has this bottom. This particular one doesn't have a lot of space, and you have to attach it to like a table or something. I'm going to use a stool, so I'll be standing up showing you how I'm winding this. Yeah, literally not a lot of space. Some people's theirs will attach to a bigger table, but this one doesn't. And it winds. You put your yarn through and it winds. And this is what it looks like. Plastic, very lightweight. You've got this metal attachment. And then now I'm going to show you how I use it to wind the yarn. So here is this stool that I'm going to be using. It's a regular step stool. I am using this because it doesn't have that much width, and I need that for this yarn ball, this yarn winder, and you'll see in a minute as I attach it. All right, so here is the yarn winder. It has this adjustable attachment, and it hooks onto a table. This particular one is really small. I've seen some wider, but again, this was $8. I've had it for about a year now, and it works for what I need it for. So you basically slide it on to whatever table. This particular stool is the widest one I've used so far. I didn't even know it would adjust this wide. And then you just turn this little knob so that it tightens, right? And I already have some yarn ready to go. Here's my yarn. It has a little groove here. So I stick the yarn into this groove, and then there's this metal piece right here, and I wind it in here like that. Okay. Or that's a blooper. So I wind it in like that. It has to be in there secure. Let me make sure. I don't want it to come out. Nope, it's in there backwards. All right. So I wind it in. There we go. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so I already have my yarn ready. It literally is down here. I don't usually work like this, but for the purpose of the video, I'm usually sitting down, very comfortable, watching TV or something. But one thing for sure is you have to hold this or to get tangled. Now, it'll probably get tangled anyway. That's why you need a lot of space. You want to make sure your yarn is really loose. I've already tied everything together, and now I'm going to wind it. So I just wind it, and you have to kind of like hold it. You don't want a whole lot of tension. I'm moving because I'm stepping on the yarn. I'm literally stepping on the yarn. There it is. You guys have, I have really big feet, so you have to excuse me. This is, I'm not taking this out. So it's like, I'm going to move over a little bit though. There you go. And I do have it knotted. So at one point you'll see there's the knot going through and it changes color. There's another one. And again, as long as the colors aren't similar, I don't, I just wind and put them together, and it's going to just do what it does. But look how cool that is. And again, you really just want your yarn to be loose on the side so that you can do this. Because if it's tangled, you're going to be struggling. And I've done it, and I'm like so happy that this is working for the benefit of the video. Even though everybody loves a good blooper, and I never take my bloopers out. I just keep going because I like people to see that I'm real. I stopped because, of course, I'm stepping on some yarn there. And then it's going to kind of be a little tangly. And as you can see, some pieces were shorter than the other. And then here we are. And when you pull it off, this is what it looks like. They call this, or it's called a yarn cake. And you can pull it from the middle. That piece that I started that was hanging over, I can just pull it from the middle, or I can pull it this way. So if you have a container or a yarn ball or bowl, you can stick it in there and then work from there, or you can just stick it like beside you. So I have these balls right here that I showed you earlier for this project. I'm actually going to wind these by hand, because one thing with the yarn baller, if you're doing yarn scraps, you're going to get really tired of like tying them together. So if you have big yarn balls like this, I say just kind of, you know, make a regular yarn ball. Here I just attach. And just use the technique that works for you. Someone's probably watching going like, I wouldn't do it like that. No worries. Just do what works for you. This is art. It doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm hot. This is, I haven't even had my second cup of coffee yet. Look at me sweating because I have all these lights on in my office, and I need them because it gets like really dark, even though this is, to me, is one of the brightest rooms in the house. All right, I'm going to do the rest of these behind the scenes, and I'll be back with a completed ball of yarn. So I finally got my second cup of coffee. Whew, I'm not cranky if I don't have my coffee, but this is the only time, for the most part, I allow myself to have coffee. It's before 12 o'clock on a Wednesday. All right, so one thing that I wanted to share, that if you have allergies or if you have asthma, and you're allergic to certain fibers, definitely wear a mask, use your inhaler before you do this, because as you're winding the yarn, particles are flying everywhere. When the camera was off, I was actually sneezing. So you just want to be mindful of that. And I just wanted to kind of share that for people who wanted to dive in and then you get stuck because you don't have, you didn't take your allergy medicine, you didn't put a mask on or something like that. For your benefit, I'm going to tie this last little ball. And again, I double knot it. Again, some people, they can, I was saying earlier, just as an example, you can take this yarn and kind of pull it, and then it will pull all the way to the end where you don't see the edges. That doesn't bother me because the projects, again, that I make, I leave them unraveled. I cut them even, but then that people can wear them like a fun way. And I'll show you as I do these episodes. So here's this right here. This is the last one. And depending on how big or small my project is, well, let's say big, I'll probably have to add some more yarn later, because sometimes just with the eye, I don't always know. And then it just makes it fun as I go on later. I can look at the yarn and go, oh, I think I need that little pop of color. I need that little pop of color. So this is the completed ball, and I'm going to use this for a project, and I'm going to use this for a project. So if you tune in for the next couple of episodes, you will see I'll probably actually start working in front of the camera, maybe crocheting, having some conversation, and then you'll see the evolution of whatever it is I'm going to make, because honestly, I don't know right now. So there's the completed ball, and there's the completed yarn cake. And I thank you for indulging me and tuning in. Take care, friends.